You were taught a lie. From childhood, the world whispered a poisonous fiction into your mind that love is salvation, that affection is armor, that being cherished makes you invincible. They were wrong, catastrophically wrong. And tonight, I will tear away the veil and show you what hides beneath. Love is not your sanctuary. It is your prison. Every moment you spend yearning for another's approval, you surrender a piece of your sovereignty. Every time you shape your decisions around someone's affection, you become their instrument. The uncomfortable truth that Machiavelli understood centuries ago still echoes today. Those who need love have already lost. Look around at the desperate masses. Watch how they contort themselves, compromise their values, and abandon their judgment, all for a fleeting moment of validation. They believe affection will save them. Instead, it devours them slowly, imperceptibly, until nothing remains but a hollow shell dancing to someone else's rhythm. This is not about becoming cold. This is about becoming sovereign. And sovereignty begins the moment you stop begging for what you should command. The addiction you never questioned. From your first breath, the programming began. Smile to receive warmth. Obey to earn praise. Conform to gain acceptance. Every institution, every relationship, every social structure taught you the same doctrine. Your worth depends on how others perceive you. Love became the currency you could never stop earning. But currency controlled by others is not wealth. It is slavery with a pleasant mask. Consider the mechanics of this addiction. When someone offers affection, your brain releases chemicals that bind you to them. When they withdraw it, you experience withdrawal. You are literally addicted to their approval. And like any addict, you will compromise anything, tolerate anything, forgive anything to get your next dose. Machiavelli observed princes and kingdoms, but his insights penetrate deeper. He saw that humans are governed by their appetites. Those who control the appetite control the person. When your deepest appetite is for love, you have already surrendered control to whoever can dispense or withhold it. The frightening part is how invisible this process is. You believe you are choosing freely. You think your desire for connection is natural, healthy, human. And it is natural, but natural is not the same as wise. Natural is not the same as powerful. Lions are naturally vulnerable when they sleep. The wise lion sleeps with one eye open. Your need for affection is your open wound, and the world is filled with people who have learned to pour salt into wounds while calling it medicine. Every relationship you enter carries this hidden contract. You will modify your behavior to maintain their approval. You will censor your truth to avoid their disappointment. You will sacrifice your time, your resources, your very identity to prevent their withdrawal. This is not love. This is hostage negotiation, where you are both hostage and negotiator. The person who masters their own need for affection breaks this contract entirely. They engage from strength, not desperation. They connect from choice, not compulsion. And in doing so, they become something rare and terrifying, unpredictable. Unpredictability is power. Those who need nothing cannot be bought. Those who crave nothing cannot be manipulated. Those who depend on nothing cannot be controlled. This is why detachment terrifies the masses. They cannot comprehend existing without the constant validation they require to feel alive. But you are not the masses, or you won't be once you understand what comes next. The performance of loyalty. Humans perform emotions the way actors perform scripts. The performance is polished, rehearsed, convincing, but beneath the performance lies calculation. Machiavelli warned that men are faithful as long as it serves them. The moment circumstances shift, the performance ends, and you see what was always there, self-interest wearing a smile. Think about every promise you have received. I will always be here. You can count on me. Our bond is unbreakable. Beautiful words, comforting words, empty words. Test them, not through dramatic confrontation, but through subtle observation. Watch what happens when supporting you becomes inconvenient. Notice who disappears when your value to them decreases. Observe who maintains loyalty when fear or opportunity presents an alternative path. Most will fail this test, not because they are exceptionally evil, but because they are typically human. And typical humans are governed by convenience, comfort, and self-preservation. Their loyalty extends exactly as far as it benefits them and not 1 millimeter further. This is not cynicism, this is clarity. The person who offers you eternal devotion today may betray you tomorrow without a tremor of conscience. Why? Because in their mind, circumstances changed, you changed, the arrangement changed. And since their loyalty was always conditional, its withdrawal requires no justification. You have seen this pattern. Perhaps you have lived it. The friend who vanished when your success made them feel inadequate. The partner who promised forever but left when difficulty arrived. The family member who supported you only while you conformed to their expectations. Each one performed loyalty brilliantly until the performance no longer served their needs. Machiavelli's insight cuts deeper still. He observed that humans are not merely fickle, but that they actively resent those they should love when circumstances create envy, fear, or inconvenience. The same person who praised you yesterday will undermine you today if your success threatens their ego. The same person who claimed devotion will abandon you if your struggle burdens their comfort. Affection is a performance. Loyalty is a transaction. And the only question that matters is, what are they truly purchasing with their apparent devotion? Often, they are purchasing your compliance, your predictability, your dependence. Every act of seeming generosity is an investment in future control. The more you owe them emotionally, the more they can extract from you behaviorally. This is the invisible economy of human relationships. Most people never see it because they are too intoxicated by the performance to notice the transaction occurring beneath. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The world transforms from a place of trust into a theater where everyone plays their part. And the only question is whether you will be audience or director. The director understands that performances are useful. The director employs them strategically. But the director never confuses the performance with reality. And the director never depends on the actors to maintain the script when the lights go out. When you stop believing in the performance, you stop being vulnerable to its sudden cancellation. When you treat apparent loyalty as temporary alignment of interests rather than permanent bond, you are never surprised by its dissolution. And when you recognize that all affection carries conditions, you stop surrendering your power to maintain those conditions. This is not about hating humanity. This is about understanding humanity. And understanding humanity means accepting that loyalty is rented, not owned. The lease expires the moment you stop paying the price they demand. The architecture of manipulation. The most sophisticated predators never announce themselves. They do not threaten or demand. Instead, they infiltrate through warmth, charm, and apparent selflessness. They study your vulnerabilities and weaponize your desire for connection. By the time you recognize the trap, you are already caught. Manipulation through a fiction follows predictable patterns. Learn them, master them, and you will never be captured again. The first move is always to establish dependency. They offer consistent attention, validation, support. They become your emotional foundation. You begin to structure your life around their presence, their approval, their needs. This is intentional. Once you depend on them emotionally, they can influence you practically. Watch for the subtle escalation. Small requests become larger demands. Minor compromises become major sacrifices. Boundaries dissolve gradually, imperceptibly, until you wake one day and realize you are living according to their design rather than your own. The second pattern is intermittent reinforcement. They alternate between warmth and withdrawal, creating an addictive cycle. When they are warm, you feel euphoric. When they withdraw, you feel desperate. This cycle trains you to chase their approval, to modify your behavior, constantly seeking the next dose of validation. This is not accidental. This is psychological engineering. The manipulator understands that consistent affection creates comfort, but not dependency. Inconsistent affection creates anxiety, and anxiety creates compliance. You will do anything, tolerate anything, compromise anything, to return to the warmth and escape the cold. The third pattern is isolation. Gradually, subtly, they create distance between you and other sources of support or perspective. They criticize your friends. They question your family's motives. They position themselves as your only true ally in a hostile world. Once isolated, you have no external reference points to recognize the manipulation occurring. Machiavelli understood that power requires strategic relationships. The manipulator applies this principle ruthlessly. Every connection you have outside their influence is a threat to their control. Every perspective that might reveal their manipulation is an enemy to be neutralized. The fourth pattern is gaslighting through affection.
When you question their behavior, they respond not with defensiveness, but with hurt.
How could you doubt someone who loves you so much? They transform your legitimate concerns into evidence of your own inadequacy or paranoia. You begin to question your own perception, your own judgment, your own sanity. This is perhaps the most devastating form of manipulation because it does not just control your behavior, it controls your reality itself. The manipulator rewrites history, reframes events, and reshapes your understanding of what occurred. And because you crave their approval, because you depend on their affection, you accept their version over your own experience. You gaslight yourself to maintain the relationship. Recognize these patterns in your past, see them clearly in your present, and guard against them ruthlessly in your future. The defense is not aggression. The defense is detachment. When you need nothing from them, they cannot manipulate you through withholding. When you depend on them for nothing, they cannot control you through dependency. When you trust yourself more than you crave their approval, they cannot gaslight you into doubting your reality. Detachment does not mean you avoid all relationships. It means you enter them as a sovereign, not a subject. You observe behavior with cold precision. You test loyalty through subtle challenges. You maintain independence regardless of how much warmth they project. The moment someone attempts to isolate you, you recognize the pattern and resist. The moment someone alternates between warmth and withdrawal, you identify the manipulation and disengage.
The moment someone makes you question your own reality, you trust your perception over their narrative. This requires discipline.
The human heart craves connection. Your biology drives you toward bonding. Your psychology seeks validation. Every instinct pushes you toward trust, vulnerability, openness.
But instinct is not wisdom. Instinct is programming designed for a world that no longer exists. In the modern landscape, where manipulation is refined to an art form, and emotional exploitation is normalized, instinct will destroy you. Wisdom requires you to override instinct with awareness. To see clearly what others prefer remains hidden. To understand the machinery of manipulation before it captures you in its gears. Those who master this understanding move through the world like ghosts. They are present but untouchable, engaged but independent, connected but sovereign. The predators sense something different about them and hesitate, uncertain, confused by someone who does not respond to the usual tactics. This hesitation is your advantage. This confusion is your shield. And this sovereignty is your ultimate weapon. The illusion of unconditional love, the most destructive myth ever sold to humanity, is the concept of unconditional love. It does not exist. Every expression of affection carries terms, conditions, and expectations. To believe otherwise is to remain perpetually vulnerable to disappointment and manipulation. Parents love their children, but observe closely that love intensifies when the child obeys, succeeds, reflects well upon them. It strains when the child rebels, fails, or embarrasses them. The love may persist, but it is conditional on 1,000 unspoken expectations. Romantic partners promise eternal devotion, yet their affection fluctuates based on your behavior, your success, your attention to their needs. The promise is unconditional, the reality is transactional. Friends claim loyalty, but watch what happens when you no longer provide value, entertainment, or validation. Watch how quickly they drift when circumstances change or better opportunities emerge. This is not an indictment of humanity's evil. This is recognition of humanity's nature. Humans are creatures of self-interest. Their capacity for genuine selflessness is rare, temporary, and often illusory upon closer examination. Machiavelli stripped away the comforting lies and revealed the mechanism beneath. People maintain relationships that benefit them. When the benefit ends, so does the relationship. They may maintain the appearance longer, out of social pressure or residual habit. But the substance has already evaporated. Understanding this transforms how you engage with the world. You stop expecting unconditional loyalty because you recognize it is impossible. You stop feeling betrayed when people prioritize their interests because you understand it is inevitable. You stop investing your emotional security in relationships because you know they are inherently unstable. This does not make you cold. It makes you realistic. You can still love. You can still care. You can still form deep connections, but you do so with open eyes, understanding that every bond has its limits, every loyalty has its price, and every affection has its conditions. When you internalize this truth, disappointment transforms from devastation into data. They left becomes not a judgment of your worth, a confirmation of their nature. They betrayed me becomes not a personal attack, but a predictable outcome when their interests shifted. This perspective is liberation. You are no longer a victim of human nature. You are an observer of it, a strategist within it, a master of it. The person seeking unconditional love will search forever, disappointed endlessly, because they are chasing a fantasy. The person who understands that all love is conditional can navigate relationships strategically, investing appropriately, withdrawing when necessary, and never surrendering their power to the inevitable fluctuations of human affection. There is profound peace in this understanding. The chaos of relationships, the drama of betrayal, the devastation of abandonment, all become manageable when you accept their inevitability. You prepare for them. You guard against them. And when they occur, you adapt without being destroyed. This is the difference between the naive and the wise. The naive believe in permanence and are shattered when it proves illusory. The wise accept impermanence and are strengthened by their own independence from it. Respect over affection. Machiavelli posed a question that reverberates through centuries. Is it better to be loved or feared? His answer remains controversial because it is true. If you cannot have both, fear, or rather respect, earned through strength, is more reliable than love. Love is fickle. Respect is durable. Love depends on emotion, which shifts with mood, circumstance, and convenience. Respect depends on perception of capability, which remains stable as long as you maintain it. When people love you, they feel warm toward you, but that warmth does not prevent betrayal when their interests diverge from yours. When people respect you, they may not feel warmth, but they recognize the cost of crossing you. Respect creates boundaries that love often fails to maintain. This does not advocate cruelty. This advocates strength. The person who commands respect does not need to inspire fear through threats or violence. They need only demonstrate competence, maintain boundaries, and enforce consequences when those boundaries are violated. Consider leaders throughout history. Those beloved by all were often the weakest, most easily manipulated and overthrown. Those respected, even if not universally loved, maintained power because others recognized the futility of opposing them. Apply this principle personally. When you prioritize being loved, you compromise boundaries to maintain affection. You tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. You accept mistreatment to preserve the relationship. Each compromise weakens you until nothing remains but a people pleaser with no agency. When you prioritize being respected, you establish clear boundaries and enforce them consistently. You accept that not everyone will like you, but everyone will recognize where your limits are. This creates a protective barrier that affection alone cannot provide. The person desperate for love becomes a target. Their need telegraphs vulnerability. Every manipulator recognizes the pattern and moves to exploit it. The person who demands respect becomes a fortress. Their boundaries signal strength. Even manipulators hesitate before attempting to breach them. This transformation requires reorienting your values. Stop measuring success by how many people like you. Start measuring it by how well you maintain your sovereignty. Stop seeking warmth from others. Start generating it from within. Stop needing external validation. Start validating yourself through your own standards and achievements. When you no longer need to be loved, something remarkable occurs. People suddenly work harder to earn your affection. Your attention becomes valuable because it is scarce. Your approval becomes sought because it is difficult to obtain. Your presence becomes desired because it is not guaranteed. This is the paradox of detachment. By needing less, you become more valuable. By demanding respect, you often receive more genuine affection than those who beg for it. But even when that affection arrives, you do not depend on it. You recognize it for what it is, a temporary alignment of interests, a conditional arrangement, a transactional engagement. You accept it, perhaps enjoy it, but never surrender your independence to maintain it. Machiavelli understood that power requires emotional discipline. The prince who needs his subjects' love is vulnerable to manipulation. The prince who commands their respect rules effectively regardless of their emotional state toward him. You are the prince of your own life. Stop seeking love from your subjects. Command their respect through strength, consistency, and unwavering boundaries. And if love arrives as a byproduct, accept it lightly, knowing it may vanish as quickly as it appeared. But respect, once earned and maintained, provides a foundation far more stable than the shifting sands of human affection. Strategic engagement detachment is not withdrawal. It is strategic engagement. The master does not avoid relationships. In the 1850s, death was open to stabilize. The soul was long. The jackapile was unwanted. The small white sad queen and stars, the great anguish many resented frames, rest and free. No connection compromises autonomy. Think of relationships as alliances. Alliances exist because mutual benefit makes them valuable. When that benefit ends, so does the alliance. This is not cynical, this is honest. And honesty permits clarity that romanticized views destroy. When you engage strategically, you evaluate every relationship through a simple lens. Does this enhance my position or compromise it? Does this person's presence strengthen me or weaken me? Does this connection serve my purpose or undermine it? If the answer is negative, the relationship must be modified or ended. This is not cruelty, this is self-preservation. Your time, energy, and attention are finite resources. Investing them in relationships that drain rather than enhance you is strategic suicide. Machiavelli advised princes to maintain useful alliances while remaining ready to dissolve them when circumstances shifted. The same principle applies personally. Maintain relationships that serve mutual benefit, but never become so attached that you cannot walk away when the relationship becomes detrimental. This requires emotional discipline. Humans form attachments. We bond with those we spend time with, even when the relationship is harmful. Biology works against strategy. Overriding this biological impulse requires conscious, consistent effort. The strategic individual observes relationships with detachment. They note patterns, test reliability, and evaluate consistency. When someone proves unreliable, they do not make excuses or give endless chances. They adjust their investment accordingly. When someone demonstrates loyalty, they recognize it, but never assume it is permanent. This approach transforms relationships from emotional chaos into manageable assets. You know what you are receiving from each connection. You know what you are providing. You maintain balance between investment and return. And you exit without hesitation when the balance shifts unfavorably. Some will call this calculating. They are correct. It is calculating. And calculation is how intelligent people navigate complex systems. The alternative is emotional reactivity, where you stumble blindly through relationships, investing randomly, hoping for the best, and being repeatedly disappointed when human nature reveals itself. Strategic engagement also involves selective vulnerability. You do not close yourself completely. Instead, you reveal yourself selectively, testing trustworthiness before exposing your genuine self. You share gradually, observing how information is handled, how boundaries are respected, how trust is honored. This protects you from premature exposure. Many people reveal too much too quickly, surrendering tactical advantages before determining whether the relationship warrants such vulnerability. By the time they recognize the other person's untrustworthiness, the damage is already done. The strategist moves slowly, deliberately. They allow relationships to develop organically while maintaining protective boundaries. They engage warmly without depending desperately. They connect genuinely without surrendering completely. Day, fresh and solid song make those temporary and pleasure. This balance is difficult to maintain. It requires constant awareness, but the payoff is extraordinary. You move through life, forming connections that enhance rather than diminish you. You maintain relationships that strengthen rather than weaken you. And you exit situations that compromise rather than support you. The world is filled with people who will drain your energy, exploit your kindness, and take advantage of your openness. Strategic engagement protects you from them, while allowing genuine connections with the rare individuals who operate with integrity. This does not mean perfection. Everyone will occasionally disappoint. Everyone will sometimes prioritize their interests over yours. The strategic individual expects this and responds appropriately without feeling betrayed. Disappointment becomes data. Betrayal becomes information.
You may be for, you may not feel, work, or combat free. You protect yourself by observing carefully while engaging selectively, and you thrive by understanding that every human interaction is ultimately a negotiation where the aware hold every advantage over the naive.
The fortress within. True power is internal. External validation, affection, approval, all are mirages that vanish when circumstances shift. The only reliable source of strength is the fortress you build within yourself. This fortress is constructed from self-mastery, independence, and unwavering self-respect. When your sense of worth derives from others, you are forever at their mercy. They control your emotional state through their attention or neglect. They manipulate your behavior through their approval or disapproval. You are a puppet, and they hold every string. When your sense of worth derives from within, you are impervious to their manipulation. Their attention is pleasant, but unnecessary. Their approval is welcome, but not required. Their presence is optional, because your completeness is intrinsic. This internal fortress is built through several disciplines. First, self-knowledge. Understand your values, your standards, your boundaries. Know what you will accept and what you will reject. This knowledge becomes your foundation, unshakable regardless of external pressure. Second, self-reliance. Develop skills, resources, and capabilities that make you independent. The more you can provide for yourself, the less vulnerable you are to others with go. Financial independence, emotional stability, practical competence, these are the walls of your fortress. Third, self-respect. Treat yourself with the same standards you would expect from others. Do not tolerate from yourself what you would not tolerate from anyone else. Maintain discipline, uphold your values, and enforce your own boundaries. The kind of situations we find is practical. Activity, content, enforcing your values, with you and with yours. This self-respect radiates outward, signaling to others that you are not someone to be manipulated or mistreated. The fortress within is not isolation, it is security. From this secure base, you can engage with the world without being consumed by it. You can form connections without becoming dependent on them. You can experience affection without being enslaved to it. Machiavelli emphasized the importance of fortifications. A prince with strong defenses can negotiate from strength, resist pressure, and survive sieges. The same principle applies internally. A person with strong internal defenses can resist emotional manipulation, survive relationship endings, and maintain sovereignty regardless of external chaos. Building this fortress requires time and effort. You must consistently choose long-term strength over short-term validation. You must resist the temptation to compromise your standards for temporary affection. You must maintain discipline even when every instinct pushes you toward comfort and acceptance. The reward is freedom. When you need nothing from others, you fear nothing from them. Their betrayal cannot shatter you because your foundation is internal. Their abandonment cannot destroy you because your completeness does not depend on their presence. Their manipulation cannot control you because you recognize it immediately and respond with detachment. This freedom is terrifying to those who remain dependent on external validation. They cannot comprehend how someone exists without the constant approval they require. Your independence challenges their worldview, threatens their understanding of how relationships work, and exposes the weakness of their own position. But their discomfort is irrelevant. Your fortress is not built to make them comfortable. It is built to make you invulnerable. Over time, This fortress becomes your greatest asset. You move through the world untouchable by the emotional chaos that destroys others. You observe human nature with clarity, unclouded by desperate need. You engage strategically, knowing that every relationship enhances rather than defines you. The fortress within is the ultimate expression of self-mastery. It is the difference between those who are controlled by their circumstances and those who control their response to circumstances. It is the dividing line between victim and sovereign. Build this fortress, strengthen its walls, guard its gates, and from its towers, observe the world with the clarity that only true independence provides. The path forward. You stand at a crossroads. One path leads back to the comfortable lie, that love is salvation, that dependence is natural, that seeking approval is human. This path is well-traveled, familiar, and ultimately destructive. Most people walk it their entire lives, never questioning, never recognizing the cage they inhabit. The other path leads toward uncomfortable truth, that love is conditional, that dependence is weakness, that approval-seeking is surrender. This path is lonely, challenging, and ultimately liberating. Few have the courage to walk it because it requires abandoning everything they were taught to believe. Choose carefully. This choice determines whether you will live as master or servant of your own emotional life. If you choose the comfortable lie, you will continue chasing affection, compromising boundaries, and surrendering power to anyone who offers warmth. You will experience temporary highs when approval comes, and devastating lows when it is withdrawn. You will be manipulated by those who recognize your need, and exploited by those who understand your vulnerability. You will live at the mercy of human nature's fickleness, forever hoping that this time will be different, that this person will be loyal, that this love will last. It will not. Human nature does not change because you wish it to. But fray, and dependence does not transform into strength, no matter how desperately you desire it. If you choose the uncomfortable truth, you will begin the difficult work of detachment. You will confront the terrifying reality of human selfishness, the painful recognition that most loyalty is performance, and the sobering understanding that love is transactional. This knowledge will hurt. It will disillusion you. It will force you to rebuild your understanding of relationships from the foundation. But through this pain, you will emerge transformed. You will see manipulation before it ensnares you. You will recognize performance before investing in its illusion. You will maintain sovereignty, even when every instinct pushes towards surrender. And slowly, imperceptibly, you will become untouchable. The path forward requires daily discipline. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to practice detachment. Every relationship becomes a test of your boundaries. Every emotional impulse becomes a moment to choose awareness over reactivity. You will slip. You will occasionally revert to old patterns, seeking approval, compromising boundaries, depending on validation. This is expected. The programming runs deep. But each time you recognize the slip and correct it, you strengthen your mastery. Over time, detachment becomes natural. What once required conscious effort becomes automatic. You observe human behavior with scientific precision. You engage strategically without internal conflict. You maintain independence without feeling isolated. The transformation is complete when you can love without needing, connect without depending, and engage without surrendering. This is the promise of Machiavellian wisdom applied personally. Not cruelty for its own sake. Not isolation from all human connection, but sovereignty maintained through clear-eyed understanding of human nature's reality, rather than its romantic mythology. Machiavelli wrote for princes navigating political jungles. His insights apply equally to anyone navigating the human jungle. The predators are different. The stakes may seem smaller, but the principles remain identical. Those who understand human nature survive, and thrive. Those who remain naive become prey. You have been given the map. The territory ahead is treacherous. Most who enter it are destroyed by their own need, their own dependence, their own desperate hunger for affection. But you now see the traps. You recognize the predators. You understand the game. The question is, will you play to win, or will you continue pretending the game does not exist?